Welcome back, Warframe gamers, to a typical build video on the YouTubes featuring Mr. Goth. Or just Sevagoth. I don't think he's edgy enough for Mr. Goth. These are the builds we're going to be taking a look at today. Feel free to pause here and take screenshots. And for the rest of you, we're going to dive into the details and see how you can make the builds better for your own personal preference or playstyle. And since we've established that you're a gamer and I'm a gamer, do me a favor and consider hitting that subscribe button. I will admit I did not find Sevagoth interesting enough to keep up with in terms of the development, pre-release, but now that I've had a few days to mess around with him, 2 warframes and an exalted weapon? Like, what? But then again, he's not broken good or anything. I'd even say he looks a little better on paper than in actual gameplay, but that could also be my build. Don't say I didn't warn you. Mello, why a warframe build video out of all things? Well, apart from the fact that you guys voted for it, I wanted to make a build video this time with a different mindset, which is to build a warframe that's strong enough for high-level content, fun to play, as well as relatively easy on resources, not necessarily to maximize in terms of stats, for example. It's pretty obvious that since we're dealing with more than just one frame here, that FORMA cost is gonna be high. You can go full out and make the builds I'm about to show you even better by just brute forcing more FORMA into them, but I feel like diminishing returns really start to hit hard past this point. I mean, the diminishing returns start as soon as you log into Warframe, but I digress. Sevagoth, unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on how you want to look at it, does not come with an aura polarity. Great! Finally, the aura formas can fulfill their purpose. I went with Steel Charge because I use melee most of the time, and it gives me max capacity to make this 2 FORMA UMBRAL build an actual thing. The whole idea is tuning Sevagoth's stats for his third ability so he can maximize duration with his shadow. It's not completely maximized because you still need some sort of survivability for Steel Path. Both Narrow-Minded and Transient Fortitude are intentionally ranked. For me, those mods at those ranks provide the best balance, but you can tweak around and see what works best for you. Primed Sure-Footed, you guys know how I feel about this mod. Best mod in the game. I'd even go so far as to say that it's actually crucial for frames when you're doing endgame tier missions where being knocked down for just even a couple of seconds may very well mean death. You can substitute Augur Secrets with Blind Rage if you'd like, if you're okay with using energy pizzas. I've got tons of those, but I just don't feel like using them. I just need to have a surplus for whatever reason. But yeah, other than that, I personally don't like pressing too many buttons that are too far to reach for my left hand at once, which is why I have Arcane Energize over here as well. But yeah, I feel like this is a good baseline to go off of, and with that empty Exila slot, there is definitely room for improvement. I just wanted to save resources. Moving on to Sevagoth's Shadow, and it's a pretty simple build here. Steel Charge again, which should help with Shadow Claw's damage output a little bit, though I could be wrong. All the Umbral mods because we really want to take advantage of that armor, and with adaptation in there, you might feel like this is sort of overkill, but trust me, it's not. I'll explain more on that in just a bit. Since you can't take advantage of any operator-based energy regen while in shadow form, I think that Arcane Energize is justified here. You can replace Arcane Strike with Arcane Fury if you'd like more damage over attack speed. One is probably better than the other in terms of DPS, but that also depends on your Shadow Claws build. I can totally understand that after trying this build, you may feel like an Arcane Grace is needed for Steel Path missions, because while Consume is supposed to take care of your healing needs, the animation is annoying. I don't want to be mean, but it's typical DE design with regards to animations. It just feels bad to use, but you are getting free heals almost for the low cost of 10 energy with this build, so it's not too bad. Finally, the Shadow Claws build. I trust that most of you watching this video are competent enough in Warframe to understand things like elements and status effects. You should really build this thing according to your own preferences. Because I didn't bother to do any sort of DPS calculation here. Ain't nobody got time for that. This is good enough, let's go. IMO, Sevagoth is definitely good enough for Steel Path, but the best? Probably not, because as OP as he might look on paper, he can still die quickly in Steel Path, even with the passive. Mostly because of the animation again, but yeah, I actually thought he'd be tougher to kill. But then again, I'm only just starting to get back into the game after a few months, and what I'm trying to say is you really gotta be focused to keep him alive. Not like soft focus, which is a thing you can do with frames like Inaros, for example. Also, the thing with caster frames is, no matter how good the abilities are, if it takes even half a second to cast an ability, especially if you're locked into the animation, That half second is more than enough time for Steel Path enemies to obliterate you. It really is. But hey, if your idea of fun is tinkering with builds to see how long you can last in Steel Path mode, giggity, then Sevagoth may be worth your time. I just can't bother putting any more than the one UMBRAL FORMA for Shadow Claws into, Sevagoth, because I'm not digging the fashion. If it was toned down to like 20%, I'd reconsider. Alright, if you're new to the channel, then here's an important message for you boys and girls. You see that channel logo down there? Go ahead and tap or click on that. It'll take you to the channel page. Once you're over there, have a quick look around, and if you vibe with the content, please do consider subscribing. If you do actually subscribe, thank you. Also, you might want to hit the bell icon too, because otherwise YouTube gets to decide what videos to stuff into your feed, because YouTube thinks it's smarter than you. Don't let that bot win. There's also a private Discord server you can join through Patreon from just $1. That's like what a can of soup costs. And I need many cans of soup every month. Not addicted or anything, I swear. Please, help me.
You should watch these. They are great.